Okay. So, what does H represent?
Um, the differentiable function.
So H, when it says H is a differentiable function, all that really means is we can find the derivative of H. So that doesn't really tell me what H really is. Like, what is H representing?
Gives a temperature.
Yeah, H is just giving us the temperature.
Oh,
Is that okay?
yeah.
So the symbol H represents the temperature. Melissa, what are the units of H?
T. Oh, wait, no, Celsius.
Degrees Celsius. Good there.
So T is the wait.
Keep talking.
H is the temperature, but what's T?
What's T, Melissa? Do you know?
The time.
Right. T is the time.
Oh, okay.
So what are the units of T?
Hours.
Yep. So, Jesse, do you know why we call it H of T and not just H?
Because the change in temperature in hours, like in time.
No, a better way to think of it is, it's called H of T because is the temperature at this weather station always the same or is the temperature different? You tell me, is the temperature always the same at the weather station or is the temperature different? It's different. So we need the symbol to say H of T because we've got to be able to say things like H of 1. And what would H of 1 in words be telling us?
The temperature at the weather station at hour 1.
Very good. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't know why I wrote that. That's really cool. Trying to see that it make no sense. You get there?
Yeah.
So then like H of 7 would be,
The temperature at hour 7.
very good, makes sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so that's what H is. So again, like lots of AP problems, I've got to keep track of whether I'm using an amount or a rate of the rate. So is H a rate, an amount, or a rate of the rate?
H is amount.
H is an amount, it's just temperature. But that means there is a rate at which this amount changes.
Yeah.
So what's the symbol that represents the rate at which this amount changes?
H prime.
H prime. Get that? If this is measured in degrees Celsius, I know right away what this is measured in.
Degree Celsius per hour.
Per hour. Because this tells me how fast this will change. That's what rate means. With me?
Yes.
Okay, so why is this H prime of T instead of just H prime?
This is change in the hours.
The rate will be different at different hours. With me?
Yeah.
So they're asking us to explain the meaning of H prime of 24. So without reading any of the answers, you just tell me what is H prime of 20, because that will happen on an FRQ. They won't give you any of this. Like they'll not give you any of these answers. You'll have to say, okay, H prime of 24 is blah, blah, blah.
The change.
Careful. It's okay, let's keep talking. You're really close. It's just the words that are messing with you. So tell me again what H represents.
Temperature.
Temperature. So let's do a little example. Let's say the temperature at time 1, I'm just going to make up numbers to make it easy to talk about, happens to be, it's an Arctic weather station, so I guess we should make it cold.
Okay.
So we'll say it's negative 50. Okay? Then the temperature at hour 7 is negative, we'll make it easy here, 58. So between those two, the temperature dropped by 8. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the change in the temperature.
Yeah.
That's not H prime. That's just the change in the temperature.
Okay.
Mathematically, this is equal to H of 7 subtract H of 1. That's the change in the temperature. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is, again, another really good AP problem because it embodies a lot of things that get tested in a lot of other places. So you comfortable with that? Awesome. So this is different. What that represents.
The temperature is changing at time equals 24.
Now that's much better. Like if we had a number here, it'd be easier to talk about. So let's just, that was way better.
Okay.
Let's put in a number here. Let's just pretend that this number is, again, to make it simple, -2.
Okay.
What would be the units of the -2?
Temperature, degrees Celsius over hours.
Good. And what would that mean?
The temperature is changing -2 degrees Celsius per hour.
Perfect.
At 20 times 24.
Very good. So at hour 24, the temperature is decreasing by 2 degrees Celsius every hour. That's what that means. The only thing they don't give you is they don't give you the number. So can you tell which of these sentences says what you just said? E. This is describing the rate, we already talked about that. It's describing the rate at which the temperature is changing. In our example, the temperature was decreasing, but whatever,
Yeah.
at the end of on the 24th hour. Is that okay?
I guess I'm just kind of confused about like at the end of.
I
24
think
hours.
that's a little confusing myself.
Yeah.
So I chose E because I know the others aren't correct.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
crossed A, C, D, but
Mhm.
then I looked at B. It's not like it's not It's not.
Yeah, that would be this.
During the 24. Yeah.
That's this one.
But then I find E a little confusing. But then that's like the most.
I get you. The end of, I'm not sure why that comes into play. They just try to make it a little more confusing.
Okay.
Let's talk about a couple others real quick, though. So we already talked about how this is showing you a change in temperature, right? Awesome. Okay, both of you got to recognize this because it's going to show up on the test. You have to recognize that this right here is equal to something else because of the fundamental theorem. Do either of you happen to remember what this right here will equal?
H prime.
Close. Equals the integral of h prime.
Interval.
So if I integrated h prime from 1 to 7, that integral would equal h of 7 subtract h of 1. With me?
Yeah.
Because I've seen that one asked too, Jesse. I've seen them ask, what does this represent right here? And you have to remember that the fundamental theorem tells you this is calculating the change in the temperature from hour 7 to hour 1. Yeah, you get there?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this one real quick. It was talking about the average rate at which the temperature changed during the 20, I don't like what they said there, let's don't do that. But you know how to calculate the average rate at which the temperature is changing over the entire 24 hours.
You do 1 over 24. Well, it's from 0 to 24.
Good work.
So, yeah, so 0 to 24 of the equation. We don't have the equation.
Which symbol do you want to put in there, H or H prime?
H. Well, it's velocity. Well, it's supposed to be H prime.
Yeah, so so listen carefully. If they ask for the average rate at which temperature is changing, you would have to average the rate at which temperature is changing. If they ask for just the average temperature, we would have to average the temperature. So that has shown up on the AP test regularly year after year. that idea, not that problem, but that idea. In fact, I put something here on the golden notes to help you with that. If you go to sheet 1, the back side, down here, there's some examples of that exact idea. In fact, it's right here. This box is showing you if T represents temperature, they used age, but that would be the average temperature of something. And then this would be the average rate of change of the temperature. So I do test you on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions here before I stop the video?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, I do have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for the fundamental theorem of calculus, like I don't really understand the difference between the integral from a to b of f prime and the of f.
Okay,
There's
let's-
like the big F and the small f.
Let's talk about, they'll stop here and talk about it.